What do you do when life suddenly turns into a storm? In Mark chapter 4, Jesus and his disciples are crossing the Sea of Galilee. The day has been full. Jesus has been teaching crowds, speaking in parables, and pouring himself out in ministry. Then evening comes. Jesus says they should go across to the other side. So the disciples take him in the boat, and they begin the journey. At first, it may have seemed ordinary: a boat, a lake, a familiar crossing. Some of these men were experienced fishermen. They knew the water. They knew how to handle a boat. But then the storm came. Mark tells us that a great windstorm arose. The waves beat against the boat, and the boat began to fill. This was not a mild inconvenience. This was frightening, dangerous, urgent. And in the middle of all that chaos, Jesus was asleep on a cushion. That detail is easy to pass over, but it is powerful. The disciples are panicking. The wind is loud. The water is rising. Their strength and experience are not enough. But Jesus is resting. So they wake him and ask him if he cares that they are perishing. That question is honest. It is emotional. And for many of us, it feels familiar. When life becomes overwhelming, we may not say those exact words, but we may feel them. Lord, do you see this? Lord, do you care? Lord, why does it feel like you are silent? Lord, why is the storm still raging? The Bible does not shame the disciples for being in a storm. The storm was real. The danger felt real. Their fear was real. But the story shows us that fear can make us forget who is with us. Then Jesus rises. He rebukes the wind and speaks to the sea. In the King James Version, his words are recorded simply: "Peace, be still." That short command is found in Mark 4:39, and the wind ceases. The sea becomes calm. The disciples had seen Jesus teach. They had seen him heal. But now they see something else. Even the wind and the sea obey him. This moment is not just about weather. It is about authority. It is about trust. It is about the difference between panic and faith when circumstances are beyond our control. Jesus then asks them why they are afraid and why they have so little faith. He is not dismissing the storm. He is teaching them to see the storm in light of his presence. That is the lesson for us. Faith does not mean the boat never rocks. Faith does not mean Christians never face pressure, grief, uncertainty, sickness, loss, or fear. Faith means that when the storm rises, we do not have to face it as if Christ is absent. Sometimes we want God to prove his care by removing every storm before it starts. But in this passage, the disciples learn something about Jesus in the storm that they may not have seen on the shore. They learn that his peace is greater than their panic. They learn that his authority is greater than the wind. They learn that his presence matters more than the size of the waves. For us, the practical lesson is simple. First, be honest with God about your fear. The disciples woke Jesus. They brought their panic to him. Prayer does not need to be polished before it is real. Second, remember what fear tends to do. Fear magnifies the waves and minimizes the presence of Christ. It makes the storm look ultimate. But the storm is not Lord. Jesus is. Third, take the next faithful step. You may not be able to calm the whole situation. You may not be able to control every outcome. But you can pray. You can breathe. You can obey what you know is right. You can ask for wisdom. You can refuse to let panic make every decision. And finally, remember this: the presence of a storm does not mean the absence of God. The disciples were not outside the will of God when the storm came. They were following Jesus' instruction to cross to the other side, yet the storm still happened. That matters. Sometimes difficulty does not mean you are going the wrong direction. Sometimes it means you are learning to trust Christ in a deeper way. Today, if your life feels like a storm, do not pretend the waves are not real, but do not forget who is in the boat. Bring your fear to Jesus. Ask for his help. Take the next faithful step. And let this story remind you, the wind and the waves are not greater than him. If this encouraged you, subscribe to Faith in Motion AI for daily biblical stories and practical faith inspiration.